The integrated approach is, I think, is the answer for the current solution, current challenges. Sadhguru, you're also into education, where education is for knowledge. It also, when the education is given, it also breaks the shackles of dependence and the poverty. And with your mission, Sadhguru, that you are empowering, uplifting those who are not only underprivileged, but those who are seekers, to get them, with the knowledge of enlightenment. How you are looking at through your mission that you are going to transform through the information that is being given through your education sector. Please throw some insight, Sadhguru.
Aristotle said, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. So our education is trying to bring this connecting the heart and the minds of people, the head and the heart. A lot of head is being educated, but the heart's education is always ignored. What do I mean by that? I mean a lot more humanization of education, where you feel for each other, you want to use your skills, your knowledge for the betterment of each other, for everybody's well-being. That is the kind of education that we must promote. Of course, all that you do is doing that at some point, in some way or the other. But more than that, whenever there is a choice to make between the greater good of all versus your individual good, your education should have empowered you to take the decision for the greater good of all, above your individual good. If that education has not achieved, then I think it hasn't achieved anything. Baba used to say, the end of education is character. And to me, character is to be able to make the right choices. So it's not just about giving education free to the rural poor, helping them break generational cycles of poverty. And I have seen so many entrepreneurs in the US, I'm sure in the Middle East and in Europe, they have come from very underprivileged background. They have gone all the way to become some of the top-notch business leaders. But in many of them, I haven't seen this willingness to give back. They do not want to be identified with their backgrounds of the past. They do not want to be seen in the light of what they were in the past. They want to hide that and erase that identity and memory of their past. Which means that though they have come from such backgrounds, somebody helped them to come up in life. They do not want to look back at their past and help more people come out of that cycle of poverty. So that education is no education at all, is what I mean to say. If it doesn't open your heart to the needs of the society, then education is good for nothing. And to me, that kind of education is what we are doing, a very transformative education, where though we pick up children from very underprivileged and needy backgrounds, we give them the entire education is free, including the medical education is free. But at the end, we do inculcate in them a sense of responsibility towards their communities, towards the larger society, and help them make the right decisions. So their sacrifice must happen for the greater good of all, and that is something that has to be taught. It doesn't come just like that. So that kind of sensitization of the head towards the needs of the heart is something that our education is aiming at. That's why I said I'm very confident that they won't be just competent individuals, they also will be very compassionate and caring people who would create better societies.
Wonderful, Sadhguru, because today's enlightened young kid is tomorrow's leader of the world. Without that, I think the world would be really blind. And thank you so much that you are actually taking an active part, not just looking in the perspective of just Indian border, but you are transcending beyond the borders. And that is really an absolutely commendable thing, because we say in Sanskrit, Sabse Mahadan is Vidyadan. And I think that you have really embodied that spirit in that. Going forward, Sadhguru, now the third key pillar of nutrition. I come from a background where I had struggled to even meet with the daily food. And there were days when I go foodless, not just me, but our siblings, all of our siblings. From there, and then reflecting the spirit of the roaring lamps, where empowering the weak, empowering the feeble, irrespective of their sizes and the status in the society, how somebody can identify that need and make them the mainstream part of the society, so that the whole ecosystem can thrive. And where one of the major challenges, you cannot study without, unless you have your tummy filled. So that means the immediate challenge is the nutrition,
Yes.
and especially your focus on the rural children who are underprivileged, who do not even have the access to such facilities which probably may exist around their ecosystem. How your mission has found out that nutrition is also very, very key, important area, so that you can fill the whole Vaidyo Narayana Hari, Satse Mahadan is Vidyadan, and then the Annadan.
If you look around, you will see there is so much of malnutrition everywhere. I mean, you have to come out of your so-called cocoons and look around and see at the larger society. In developing countries, nutrition is a major issue, but also in developed countries, because they don't eat right. These kids are obese and they are also having a lot of other juvenile diabetes and such issues. So that's the other problem. But for the larger masses in India and Africa and such countries, children don't have anything in the morning. Most of their parents are laborers who leave their homes early at 6:30 in the morning, because they must get their daily labor. Otherwise, they will have nothing to eat by the end of the day. So they leave their children high and dry. The children go to school. In most schools, midday meal program is there, but that's not a very nutritious program. It does fill your belly, but does it cater to your daily nutritional requirements? That's a question to be answered. So when we looked around, we saw a lot of kids were coming from such backgrounds, and they were mostly going to the government schools. And many of them have joined us also, whom we took from the government schools and enrolled them into our residential schools. So that's where we saw that a lot of kids do not have anything in the morning. They faint halfway through the assembly, or they are not attentive. Some of them come only for the midday meal, just before the meals arrive. They don't come to the school. So these were the problems which everybody knew, and they were like the elephant in the room. But I think the policymakers, the larger people, they all ignored that, because they thought anyway midday meals is being given, something is being done, so it's alright. But then we realized that after a 12 or 14 hours of fasting, a kid needs to have his neuromotor skills kicking right in the morning, because that's when his day begins. But then if you don't give the fuel to the body becomes weaker. So they get a lot of infections, diseases, they're stunting, wasting, all because of malnutrition. So what we did is that we wanted to serve them morning meals. We started with simple breakfast like upma and rotis or chapatis, and based on where they belong. But then we realized it's not possible to cook fresh food so early in the morning at 7:30. Midday meals is fine, but then so we studied the other models like Akshay Patra, others. How do they do? And they start at 1 a.m. in the morning, all the cooking, and transport the food at by 11 to the schools. We said at 7 we cannot do this for the children. So we came up with a very nicely scientifically prepared health mix, which is based out of ragi, which is the finger millets. And then that is fortified with vitamins, minerals and other daily requirements of the kid. And then you add a little bit of jaggery to it, which is again organic, and that enhances the taste. And 250 ml of this drink would take care of more than 50 to 60% of a daily micronutritional requirements. Plus, because it is ragi, it is a complex carb, it stays in your stomach for a while, it doesn't get digested, so you don't feel hungry too soon. So we set up a factory, it's a state-of-the-art factory, right outside our campus in Karnataka. And now it supplies to over 1 million children across 25 states and union territories. And this is also has a long shelf life. Transportation is easy, preparation is very easy. We use the same infrastructure of the schools, which is you already have cooks for the midday meal schemes. So we give them a little extra incentive to prepare this in the morning. And slowly we realized, we did longitudinal studies. We came with the results along with National Institute of Nutrition and CFTRI and Millet Research Institute. And now also we are doing one study for aspirational districts in India. But what it proved is that these kids' learning ability increased, attendance improved, their physical fitness improved, health incidences reduced, and overall there is a better educational outcomes as well. So this was one simple intervention at 2 rupees per child per day, which has transformed the education and healthcare systems of the country. That is where we found it very fulfilling, and we want to grow it to a much larger number, because the need is for 80 million children around India alone. And we are now slowly entering Africa and other countries as well.